400 kilometers above the Earth, in the sky, stands the International Space Station. For many years, this space station has made a continuous orbit around our planet. Although it is extremely small, this space station is the size of a football stadium and weighs 430,000 kilograms, equivalent to the weight of around 300 automobiles. However, the issue of how this space station, the size of a football field, got into space from the Earth emerges. The International Space Station, or ISS, is once again shown as the most costly item ever created by humans. This space station was built for $1.5 billion. What is the ISS's purpose? How do the inhabitants of it survive in the absence of gravity? In today's video, you will understand how they obtain food, water, and most crucially, oxygen, and how the International Space Station was launched into orbit. The size of the ISS is comparable to a 6-bedroom house, even though it is spread out across an area the size of a football field and is mostly made up of solar panels. 27,500 kilometers per hour is the speed at which the International Space Station circles the Earth. The ISS travels around the globe 16 times a day at this pace. However, it probably strayed from its orbit at least once in the previous 30 years. The only thing the ISS and the astronauts who live there do in space is conduct experiments. Yes, the International Space Station, ISS, has labs built by the United States and Russia. In these labs, astronauts test various items brought in from the Earth to see how they perform in space. Additionally, the ISS may be used to foresee natural disasters on the ground, which can prevent a great deal of harm. In addition, how would it be feasible for people to live somewhere other than Earth, say Mars? Numerous studies and tests are being conducted with the aid of the ISS about this as well. On the International Space Station, ISS, 6 astronauts reside and work in these connected pods. These capsules feature various amenities for the astronauts, including bathrooms, dining, drinking, entertainment, and exercise areas. Gravity, or the attraction of the Earth, is what exists in the absence of all other things. Because there is no gravity aboard the ISS, the astronauts cannot feel their weight or the sensation of sitting or lying down. He propels himself and soars like Superman by grabbing various items to travel from one capsule to another. Countless meals are available, but they are prepared in packs rather than on the ground. Due to the lack of gravity in space, all our daily tasks on Earth are carried out very differently, similar to hydration, oral hygiene, restroom use, and exercise. Because astronauts tend to become exceedingly lazy and sleepy in space, they also have specialized workout equipment that they must utilize for 2 hours daily. In a similar vein, astronauts do take baths in space, just not with water. Certain shampoos and soaps may be used on the body without water. No shampoo or soap is requested, only a dry towel. These astronauts' duties include caring for the ISS and conducting other studies and experiments. They will always need a spacesuit if they need to perform any task that requires them to leave the space station, because it is simultaneously minus 250 degrees centigrade and 50 degrees centigrade in space. The human body will instantly freeze if there is no sun. If there is sun, it will simultaneously burn the human body to ashes. This spacesuit, which has a system to defend against oxygen pressure and heat and cold, was created as a result. The ISS has tiny quarters for the astronauts to sleep in, where they may do so comfortably by wrapping themselves in a sleeping bag. The breakfast, lunch, and supper food items are sufficient for 6 astronauts for 6 to 7 months. 3,780 miles are produced and transported to the ISS over 7 months. Surprisingly, it costs around $10,000 to deliver just 1 kilogram of food to the International Space Station. These meals are not made by a chef, but by a NASA food scientist. NASA food scientists have a dilemma since they must create this meal for astronauts, whose weight is also lower, which may be stored for 7 months without even a refrigerator, and all the essential nutrients are also contained in these mines. For this, after cooking, these food scientists freeze them using freeze-drying technology, which removes 97% of the water from them and leaves only 3% of the food's weight. All the air is now evacuated from within the packaging machine before these dishes are packaged. The food is all carefully packaged in a package and delivered to NASA's Cygnus supply module. Fruity and mucilal. Following the voyage, Cygnus delivers this meal to the ISS. All right, that's enough about food. Let's move on to the utilization of water. Compared to those living on the ground, astronauts on the ISS utilize just one person's worth of water. Yes, the ISS has a cutting-edge water recycling system that filters wastewater and turns it into potable water. You'll be astonished to learn that although the water the astronauts drank on board the International Space Station, ISS, would have been flawlessly clean, the water gets recycled back into the human waste on board. Even the perspiration they produce is cleaned, filtered, and reusable by the water recycling system. This results in a 91% reduction in water usage on board the ISS. To breathe in space, astronauts utilize artificial oxygen. But how is this oxygen delivered in space? After all, oxygen weighs its own. A day of human activity requires 840 grams of oxygen. In other words, 6 people in space require 1,000 kg of oxygen for 6 months. It contains 1,000 kg of oxygen. There is a method to produce oxygen on the ISS. However, these are not delivered from the ground. According to NASA, electrolysis is used in the space station to produce oxygen. In other words, oxygen is created from the power generated by the solar panel by passing it through water. International Space Station weighs 420,000 kilograms overall and has always been full in its 21-year history. This space station, which measures the size of a football field, was constructed by joining several modules. The odd thing is that these modules were never physically linked to one another. This is how the space station appeared when it was launched for the first time in 1998. But over time, more modules were added to it. And ultimately, in 2011, after 13 years of arduous effort, the ISS took on its final form. Learn some fascinating information now about the International Space Station. Solar panels on the International Space Station generate 120 kilowatts of power daily. This is equivalent to the electricity used by 40 homes. The ISS is powered by a total of 50 computers located within. There are 2 restrooms, 6 sleeping areas, and a gym on the ISS. There have been 230 astronauts from 18 different nations who have been to the ISS so far from China. In under 4 hours, a spaceship can travel from the ground to the ISS in an emergency. During a spacewalk, astronauts cannot even hear one another's voices since the sound travels to our ears through the air, which is not present in space. The International Space Station, seen without a telescope from Earth, is the second brightest object in the sky after the Moon. During 24 hours, astronauts on board the International Space Station may observe 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets. I hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate your kind words very much. See you in the upcoming superb video. Thank you.